Raider Nation, the heat in Las Vegas is off the charts right now. The team is drowning in losses, and the front office finally dropped the hammer on the coaching staff. After Chip Kelly was shown the door, the Raiders made a second move that completely reshaped the offense. There was a message from the top trying to calm things down, and an ugly reaction from Geno Smith toward his own fan base that is already bringing consequences for him inside the locker room and across the league. And that last storyline hits hard, so stick with me because this final stretch is going to be wild. Before we dive into all these storylines, let me talk to you real quick. Hit that subscribe button. It is free and it helps a ton to keep this fan-driven coverage alive. While you are at it, drop a like so YouTube pushes this conversation out to even more football fans, and jump into the comments too, because your opinion matters a lot here. Let me be very clear, firing Chip Kelly was only a matter of time, and the clock hit zero after this 2-9 start with the Raiders' offense sinking week after week. You can talk injuries, bad luck, strength of schedule, all of that, but at the end of the day, the offense turned into dead weight on a team that invested heavily on that side of the ball. When the star side of the roster becomes an anchor, somebody is going to pay the price. From the offseason on, the blueprint was obvious. Build everything around Brock Bowers, protect the new quarterback, let Ashton Jeanty be the engine of the offense, and bring in rookies on the line and at wide receiver to grow into the system. On paper, it looked great. Then Bowers went down in week 1. Colton Miller and Jackson Powers-Johnson got hurt and the offensive line collapsed. Sure, that is a massive blow. Any coordinator would struggle. But here is the issue that really stings. Even with all that chaos, this offense could not be the worst in the league. Not in the ugly way we have watched it play out. To be honest with you, I even tried to give him the benefit of the doubt early on. Injury after injury, chemistry shattered, holes all over the roster. But as the weeks went by, the offense did not just stall, it went backwards. Young players were barely seeing the field, the scheme got rigid, creativity disappeared when it came to protecting the quarterback and hiding how weak the line had become. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, Patrick Graham has been pulling off miracles with a cheap, patched-up defense that still finds ways to compete almost every week. It is not perfect, but you watch it and think, okay, this guy is squeezing everything he can out of what he has. On offense, it felt like the exact opposite. It just did not add up, right? What really hurts is seeing rookies like Jack Beck, Dante Thornton, Caleb Rogers, and Charles Grant almost vanish from the rotation. On a team with only 2 wins, you cannot afford to burn almost an entire draft class without truly testing them. That is when the fan base feels like there was no plan B, no plan C, just a blind hope of, if everybody stays healthy, we are fine. The NFL does not forgive that, especially not in Las Vegas with Raider Nation watching everything. Only here you get this kind of Raiders fan perspective, looking not just at the results, but at the way this offense flatlined on the field. Kelly did try to hold things together, changed some calls, messed with tempo, rotated personnel, but game after game it felt like the same thing. A lost offense, roots out of sync, a predictable run game, protection crumbling in seconds. When you look at the scoreboard and see that even with more talent than last year, the offense somehow looks worse, there is no speech that can save you. Results rule, and in this case, the result was brutal. The worst offense, an offense that puts people to sleep. That will drive any fan crazy, and it did not stop with him. Right after that came the news that Bob Bicknell, Kelly's right-hand man, was out as well. Another offensive name gone, one more piece of that offensive plan ripped out in the middle of the season. When a franchise starts removing not just the coordinator, but also the guy who helped build the day-to-day of the playbook, it is a sign that the trust inside the building has been gone for a long time. Just look at the level of chaos this has reached. When you throw in the recent firing of the special teams coordinator, it is basically a full sweep of the units that were dragging the team down the most. 3 coaches gone in the same year, 2 of them on offense, show that Pete Carroll is feeling pressure from every direction and trying to respond as fast as he can. The vibe is one of rushed reorganization, patch over patch, while the season goes down the drain right in front of Raider Nation, watching the silver and black turn into a live laboratory in the middle of the regular season. In the end, the firing is harsh but fair. It was the message that had to be sent. You cannot accept a passive offense while the season melts away. And the wild part is this is only the first wave of criticism because Pete Carroll stepped in front of the cameras and sent a direct message to Raider Nation after that embarrassment. And what he said might shake the fan base's confidence even more. You know what really sticks in this whole story? After firing the offensive coordinator, Pete Carroll goes to the podium and drops that classic "something good is about to happen" speech, saying you just have to keep the faith that things will turn around. Fans love having an optimistic coach. It is part of who he is, but what is happening on the field is screaming louder than any motivational quote. 2 wins, 9 losses, an offense stuck in neutral, and fans leaving the stadium drained. He doubled down on that mindset of believing until the end, saying that is what guided his whole career, that he had never been through a 2-9 before, but his way of attacking the situation remains the same. Sounds great on paper, but Raider Nation is not seeing something good right around the corner. It is seeing an offense that cannot score Sunday after Sunday. To be honest with you, it is starting to feel like there is a big gap between what the head coach feels and what the people in the stands are living through. I know you are thinking the same thing. Carroll also praised both defenses, said it was a defensive game on both sides, low numbers, all that. And sure, we can admit it, the defense is busting its tail out there. But at the end of the day, if you are not putting points on the board, nothing else matters. He talked about missed shot plays, the quarterback being under pressure all day, the protection not holding up against the Browns' pass rush. And man, that drives me crazy, because it is no secret this line has been getting beat for weeks. Then came the frustration with the officiating, because this crew is known for throwing a lot of flags, and surprise, they hit their usual average. The plan was to stay off their radar, but the penalties came at the worst times, flipped field position, and killed drives. And again, that is the type of explanation fans hear and say, okay, but what about the offense? What about adjusting the plan to actually protect the quarterback better? Only here you get that unfiltered Raiders fan perspective, feeling that punch the same way the stands felt it. At the end of the presser, he was asked about using more of the rookie offensive linemen, Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant. He said it is one way to go, but that they watch practice every day, the tape every day, and that their time is coming, maybe sooner rather than later, but that for now, he still trusts the guys he is putting out there. It is that we are taking our best shot type of talk. The problem is when your best shot is a quarterback getting beat up and an offense scoring 10 points at home, it is hard to buy into that without asking questions. Drop a comment and let me know if you still trust that message or if you are already out on it. And the craziest part is that everything Carroll said ties directly into the takeaways from this loss, with this game laying bare old problems and opening the door for even bigger changes coming next. There is something about this game against the Browns that exposed everything once and for all. This was not just another loss, it was a snapshot of exactly how deep the Raiders have sunk. At home, packed stadium, the energy tilted to the other side because of the buzz around their rookie quarterback, and even then the silver and black could not respond. 10 points on the board, a stalled offense, fans walking out with that mix of anger and exhaustion. It is tough to say it, but this Sunday turned into the symbol of the entire season. The first big takeaway is almost obvious, but it needs to be said straight up. Changes on the offensive staff were not a luxury. They were a necessity. The way the offense came out again with no identity, no rhythm, no real adjustment only confirmed that cutting ties with Chip Kelly after this stretch was the only real option. This collapse did not begin against Cleveland, but that is where it became impossible to hide. Only here you get that true Raiders fan angle, feeling that the firing came late, but at least it finally happened. To be honest with you, it almost felt like the offense was just waiting for someone to pull the plug. Another thing that hurts like crazy is looking across the sideline and seeing their rookie under all the spotlight, playing with poise while our offense struggles just to keep the quarterback upright. He did not have a perfect debut, threw an interception, had a touchdown on a long screen, nothing like a video game stat line, but even so, in that first start pressure cooker, he managed to be more functional than the guy the Raiders are paying to lead this offense. That hits any longtime fan right in the gut. Then comes the question that will not go away. How does a franchise that badly needs a future at quarterback pass up chance after chance in the draft and then watch the rookie who could have been their guy beat them in their own stadium? It feels like the organization wasted time, wasted vision, and is now watching from the front row the possible birth of a new face of the league at the expense of its own secondary. I know you have been replaying that in your head since the final whistle. Drop a comment if you felt that same emptiness. But as strange as it sounds, there is an almost ironic twist to this beating. The loss pushes the Raiders even deeper into the conversation for a top pick in the draft. The Browns and Raiders came in stuck in the same hole, and this result nudges Cleveland to step up while leaving Vegas in a better spot to chase a premium selection. It is not the kind of win Raider Nation wants, obviously, but it is a consequence of a season that already went off the rails. If the team is going to fall, it might as well squeeze every inch of rebuilding opportunity out of it. In the end, this game was the moment the reality really set in. The offensive staff under maximum pressure, the quarterback under fire, the future of the position up for debate, and the rebuild no longer a theory, but a fact. And the wildest part is that even in the middle of that storm, there was still someone walking away with praise from inside all this chaos, a guy who just lost his job but left a message of respect for the players and for the leader of this offense. There is a detail in this whole saga that says a lot about character and about the locker room. Even walking out with brutal results on his resume, Chip Kelly did not play the victim, did not throw players under the bus, and did not go scorched earth on the organization. It was the opposite. As soon as the firing became official, he talked about gratitude, said he understands that in the NFL you either win or you are gone, and made a point of praising the guys he worked with. In the middle of this offensive meltdown, that message carries more weight than it seems. He pointed out what a massive opportunity this was with the Raiders, the big salary, the status of being the highest paid coordinator in the league, and even so, he did not duck responsibility. He said that at the end of the day, it is simple. You have to win. And here's the key part. He made it clear how much he enjoyed working with this group, especially with Geno Smith. He called him one of the best parts of his time in Vegas, talked up the routine, the daily grind, the way they worked together. For a coach who just got fired to speak like that about a player who has been getting hammered by criticism tells you a lot. To be honest with you, it also shows how that locker room is probably split between frustration with the results and respect for the guys taking the hits. Is Geno playing badly? Yes. The numbers say it all. One of the worst offenses in the league in yardage, a run game that is stuck even with Ashton Jeanty on the roster, ranking near the bottom in points per game, and a quarterback with the same number of touchdowns and interceptions. That is tough to swallow. But when a coordinator who just lost his job still makes a point of praising his professionalism, you realize not everything is about stats. Only here you get that true silver and black read from someone living every phase of this franchise. From the outside, it is easy to dump every problem on the quarterback and move on. From the inside, you can see a line that does not protect, a scheme that does not help, and a run game that cannot sustain long drives. Kelly failed to build a functional offense, that is a fact, but he also left behind a clear sign that this group works hard, and that Geno especially shoulders a lot of the blame, and that really changes the way we look at the whole situation. There is another angle here too. This is already the second time this season that Pete Carroll has fired a coordinator, something he had never done midseason before. First, it was special teams. Now it is the offense. That shows a head coach under serious pressure trying to answer to the fans, the locker room, and the front office, and not just sitting there while the ship sinks. At the same time, it cranks the spotlight up even more on the people who are still in the building, especially the quarterback leading this offense on Sundays. And that is exactly where the next situation blows up, because his reaction to the fan base after this game opened a deep wound between the quarterback and Raider Nation. The worst moment on Sunday was not even the score, it was the scene after the final whistle. Inside the Raiders' own house, the silver and black crowd worn out from booing, the team shuffling to the locker room with their heads down, and Geno Smith appears on camera looking like he is flipping off the stands. That hits different. Losing hurts, a 2-9 record suffocates everyone, but when the gesture is aimed at your own fans, the damage goes way beyond football. The atmosphere inside Allegiant Stadium was already toxic. The offense stalled again, just 10 points on the board. The Browns pass rush pounding Geno all game long, double-digit sacks, passing numbers that padded the stat sheet, but did not move the scoreboard. The crowd reacted the way any fan base that feels betrayed does. Boos, frustration, years of anger piling up. Then the TV angle catches the quarterback walking off the field, and from what it looked like, sending a very unfriendly message to the people who had been backing him from the opening kickoff. To be honest with you, that is the kind of situation where nobody really wins. You have a fan base that is hurt, maybe going too far at times, and a player at his breaking point after taking hits from his line, from opposing defenses, and from the media all week long. But even understanding the emotional side, it is very hard to defend a gesture like that at home. Raider Nation has worn these colors for decades. Seeing one of the leaders of the offense respond that way makes a lot of people feel like the bond between the field and the stands just snapped. I know you saw that and thought, yeah, that crossed the line. After the game, when he spoke, Geno did not address that moment directly. He just took the blame for how he played. He said this is on him, that he has to make better plays and find a way to turn things around. It is good to hear a guy own it, especially with the season he is having. Completion percentage that looks fine on paper, but a stat line with 13 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, more than 40 sacks taken, and a QBR sitting near the bottom of the league. Only here you get that true Raiders fan perspective, looking beyond the numbers and feeling the real tension between player and crowd. The problem is that no matter how often he says, "This is on me," that middle finger image toward the fans is louder than any quote. It becomes a national talking point, a meme, a locker room conversation. And in Las Vegas, where the connection with the fan base is still being built after the move from Oakland, something like this carries an even higher price. It is not just about a bad game, it is about respect, trust, and how much this roster understands what it means to wear the silver and black. To make it worse, the league does not usually let that kind of gesture slide. The NFL cares about its image, and when a player or even an owner crosses that line, the response usually shows up in the form of a fine. We just saw Jerry Jones get hit hard for a similar move. That does not mean Geno will get slammed with the same kind of money, but it is almost certain this incident will be reviewed in New York and could end up costing him out of pocket. Now, you have problems on the field, problems off the field, and potentially problems in the bank account. And all of this is happening at a time when his future in Vegas was already being questioned based on performance alone. Any punishment from the league only adds fuel to the narrative that this whole situation has turned toxic. Poor play, bad vibes with Raider Nation, and now a possible official penalty for a gesture aimed at his own crowd. While the team gets ready to face a division rival on the road, this story is going to keep following him, ready to pop up in every broadcast, every debate show, and every boo he hears away from Las Vegas. That is a lot of smoke for a guy still trying to prove he deserves to lead this offense. In the end, that gesture is almost the perfect symbol of what this season has become. A team lost on the field, an apathetic offense, pressure exploding from all sides, and the relationship between the offensive leader and the fan base hanging by a thread. And whether we like Geno or not, all of this says a lot about where this team stands right now, emotionally and competitively, and about how big the rebuild ahead really is for the Raiders. When you put everything that has happened over these last few days together, the picture is rough. The leadership shaking up the coordinator spots, the head coach trying to sell hope, a home loss that exposes old issues, a former coach praising the leader of the offense, and the quarterback himself clashing with the fan base. That is a lot for a single season. But at the same time, it shows exactly where the Raiders are and how badly this franchise needs to reconnect with its silver and black identity. This team drives us crazy, but we are not going anywhere. Drop a comment because this space belongs to everyone who lives and breathes Raider Nation.